Well, I feel compelled to give you guys a little bit of a warning because this is going to be one of those stream of consciousness conversations that I have with you about a number of different things. I'm calling it 5 Things Friday or 5 Topics Friday that relate to garden-inspired living. Now, I'm giving you a little caveat at the beginning. Some of you just like me to get straight to the point and say I jabber too much, and certainly this, Stuart just laughed, this kind of vlog isn't for everyone, so that's just my warning. If you don't want to hear me jibber jabber, then just move on to the next one. But I think sometimes it's helpful, not only for me, but for you to kind of work some things out in our heads related to our gardens and our lives and our personalities and healthful aging and all those kinds of things. And this is kind of an aggregation of a lot of different topics, all of which I put under the title Garden-Inspired Living. Now, I felt compelled to do this video today because I'm in the throes of lots of real activity related to my line on QVC and promos for my book. I've been doing lots of radio podcasts and interviews, lots of segments on QVC, and I'm getting lots of questions about my brand, which I consider to be garden-inspired living. And I thought, I don't know that I have ever really defined for you what that means to me, and perhaps more importantly, how you guys have helped me distill and define what garden-inspired living means. And a lot of you have talked recently about how I have diverged a little bit into different areas rather than just gardening. So in terms of fashion and interior decor and lifestyle and healthy aging, in the kitchen, entertaining, and that always surprises me a little bit because for me, it's all part of garden-inspired living. There's not really a distinction for me between, I guess, being out in the garden and being inside because I live a very inside-outside life. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. So that's my question of the day. When I talk about garden-inspired living, how do you define it and how do you interpret some of these different topics that I've been incorporating into my channel? Stuart and I, first of all, it just got too cold and we wanted to bring it inside, but also a lot of these things that I have been addressing have been very much informed by the comments that you guys have made and things that are of interest to you and a conversation that we can have back and forth with one another. So as always, I learn a lot more from you than you learn from me. So there you go. There's my question of the day. What does garden-inspired living mean to you? And do you like these little digressions that we have taken out of the garden? So one thing that, as I told you, my whole QVC thing has really blown up, and people have talked a lot about and been asking me a lot about what my brand is in garden-inspired living. So I thought I would go through my 5 things of what to me define garden-inspired living. And before I do that, excuse me, Stuart, I've got the dropsies today. I want to do just a little bit of a commercial because Stuart just came up and he helped me unload. I've got like 8 boxes on my front porch, and they are all these wonderful plant support cages that are part of my QVC line. My commercial is because, you guys, these are on sale right now for a really, really, really great price, and I think there's some kind of promo that's coming up this weekend, but I'm also showing them to you because you asked me what kind of finish I have these in, and I wanted to do these in the aged copper because I think they're really beautiful, and I think they'll reflect the sun beautifully in my garden, and they will also kind of go with what other wrought iron elements I have in my garden because they've got some detailing on them that's darker and kind of looks like wrought iron. So I wanted to tell you about that because these are not going to last long. They will sell out pretty quickly, and I doubt that we will get them back in this year. So I apologize for that commercial. As always, for me, it doesn't make any difference to me if you buy them on QVC. If you find something like this at an antique store that you can reuse, recycle, repurpose, if you can make them yourself and turn some kind of trash into treasure. It makes no difference to me. These are just a point of inspiration for you, though I will say that these are really high quality and I do love them. So in my Signature Touches collection, and I'm gonna read this as kind of a jumping off point to what I hope will be kind of a roadmap for how I think of garden-inspired living. And if you order something from my QVC line, you get a card like this from me that talks about signature touches, and I describe it as those things that make your garden and home uniquely and distinctively yours, that help you express your own personality, style, and identity both in and out of the garden, and define what a garden lifestyle means to you. And then I go on to say, with special touches from my Signature Garden collection. And that is kind of in essence what I try to do with this vlog. And that is to communicate garden-inspired living in 5 ways that Stuart and I also think of as kind of our mission statement, because we actually, Stuart, I want some validation from you on that.
Yes, we do.
Can you talk a little bit about our mission statement and how we do have driving your, I've put you on the spot, haven't I? But Stuart, does it tickle you pink?
Yes, it does tickle me pink.
Tickle you pink to think about it? Well, Stuart and I, we really do have a mission statement for this vlog, which is just a daily accounting of living a garden-inspired life. And I think, first of all, part of our mission statement is that we want to help inspire you to live garden-inspired, create garden-inspired beauty that is beauty, not necessarily perfection. And beauty can be defined in so many different ways. So that's another driving force for me. There is no one style of beauty. There are many different interpretations of beauty. There's maximalist beauty, there's minimalist beauty, there's a traditional home like mine that's styled and has a decor like mine. I just came from a friend of mine who has an old house but it's been interpreted in a very modern way. So there is no one right or wrong way for you to interpret how you create beauty in your landscape and in your home. I'm just out here trying to inspire different interpretations of beauty. And I say beauty, not perfection, because to me there is great beauty in imperfection, whether it's a flower arrangement that is is past its prime and it's starting to die, or it's beauty in aging that is no longer perfect, and we find wisdom and beauty in our imperfections as we age. So I think first and foremost, that's what Stuart and I try to do, is we try to inspire and influence and help you find your own interpretation of beauty in your home, in your garden, in your lives, but that by all means does not have to be perfection, which is why I try to show you all of I call them my uglies, as well as the things that are beautiful, because I think it's so much a part of the process. Creating beauty is a process, and that process can be ugly sometimes, and that's okay. So Stuart, would you agree with me that is our number one thing? We try to inspire beauty and beautification, not necessarily perfection, and that there's no one style of beauty. So now let's go on to my number 2 component of living a garden-inspired life. Okay, my second thing the second component of our mission statement that I think is so important to conveying a garden-inspired lifestyle, and I really talk about it in my book, The Elegant and Edible Garden, a lot. My alliteration is catching up with me here. But that is something that I think of as accessibility. And I think living a beautiful garden-inspired life should be accessible to everyone. And when I think back on it, certainly I have fleshed out that definition for myself over the years, and I now feel so fortunate to have a beautiful garden that influences how I live my life. But when I think back to it, I was living a garden-inspired or a nature-inspired kind of lifestyle even when I was very, very young. and would revel in, taking a hike and finding beautiful acorns and bringing them inside. Or my absolute obsession with houseplants when I was in high school and in college, and I would decorate my home with different kinds of houseplants, some of which were trees and things that I would dig out from the forest behind my home. And when I had my first apartment, and certainly my dorm room, they were very, very humble. They were very meager. They certainly didn't require a lot of money, because I put myself through college and I just lived from one paycheck to the next. I was the quintessential struggling student, both undergraduate and graduate student. And yet, that kind of garden-inspired beauty was very much accessible to me. I could take cuttings from other people's plants. I could create a small garden in a windowsill. I could go dig something up from out in the woods, and I could style it in a certain way with thrifted finds. And even though I was broke and I was poor and I lived in a very small apartment, nevertheless, that kind of style and that garden-inspired beauty was very much accessible to me. And I really want to convey that it doesn't make any difference how rich you are, how poor you are, how experienced you are, how inexperienced you are. It really doesn't make any difference, because garden-inspired beauty is accessible to all of us. And you can take a walk in the woods and come back with a beautiful, artful composition of your garden foragings, and that is every bit as beautiful to me as some kind of very expensive piece of artwork that you could buy at a museum or that you could order off of the internet. And so I think, and hopefully I try to convey that this kind of lifestyle is accessible to all of us. Stuart, would you agree with that? That I've not, I haven't lived this kind of life my entire life, but even when I was living at home growing up, or when I was poor and broke, or when we just started our family and money was precious, I still felt in no way that I didn't live a rich life, because it was inspired by things from the garden and things that I could incorporate into my life that were beautiful, hand-picked daisies, anything like that. It's the quintessential, metaphor of just nothing is more charming than a mason jar with a bouquet of flowers in it. That was accessible to me when I was broke, and it's still accessible to me now. And it's just a matter of interpreting and being curious and being observant and trying to figure out how we can transform something, one form of beauty, into another. So that would be my number 2 component of our mission statement, and also what I consider to be just a primal element of living a garden-inspired life, and that is that it should be accessible. So recently I get so much feedback from you. As I've told you ad nauseum, I live in Oklahoma City. I live in the southwest part of the United States. I think of it as being in the South. But all of you live around the world. I can't tell you how many comments and how many really special communications I've had with people, those of you that live in Australia, in India, in Iran, in the UK, in Edmond, Oklahoma, and we communicate back and forth, but it's all different. It's different in how we speak. It's different in our various dialects. This was pointed out to me recently by someone who commented and said that I pronounced this Calancho, because in our neck of the woods, that's how we pronounce them. And if I had said Kalankoa, which is also how it can be pronounced, people wouldn't have known what I was talking about. And I love that. I love the fact that there are differences, and I really try to celebrate differences. And it goes back to that there's not necessarily a right way or a wrong way, though I guess there is a right way or a wrong way when it comes in terms of maybe prepping a hole to plant something in, but there's so often we're caught up in what's right and what's wrong, and to me there are just interpretations of different things, and I love that, which leads me to my next component of a garden-based lifestyle, and that is that there is connection and that there is community, and that is very much part of what I hope you perceive as part of Stewart's and my brand, the Linda Vater brand, is it's about connectivity and communication and it being authentic and natural. And I think the compliments that you guys give me the most, that are most meaningful to me, is that you tell me that you think this is authentic with its foibles and all of the mistakes we make. And to me, that's just, it's all about experimental and enthusiastic endeavor. And we can talk back and forth about those things and how we have messed up and how you have to fail before you can succeed, and to do it in a way that's not judgmental, but that's just enthusiastic. And I guess there was a period of my life when I thought it wasn't cool to be enthusiastic. And I have learned from people in my life, primarily my daughters-in-law, and I think from Stuart, who gets tickled pink about things, and from so many of you, that enthusiasm is a gift and that it should be contagious, because God knows we need it in our lives right now. And I think that's a good thing. I think that happiness can be contagious, enthusiasm can be contagious, learning can be contagious, experimentation can be contagious. And I hope that this vlog expresses and spreads some of that contagion in a good way, because we have certainly looked at contagion in a bad way over the past couple of years. And so I think that's what we try to do. We try to make it contagious and spread that, if you will. I often call myself a garden evangelist because I want to spread the good news about gardening. And I try to do that on this channel, and you guys do it in return, because your enthusiasm then inspires me, and then it becomes a mutually thing where you feed my contagion and I feed your enthusiastic contagion about learning and living a garden-inspired life. And that really helps me make it through some dark times, and you guys have shared with me how it helps you make it through some dark times. So if it has done that for you, I feel eminently humbled and eminently privileged. And if you think that this kind of message and the community that we have built here would be important to others, then please share it with others, subscribe, and kind of spread the word about the evangelical nature of contagious loveliness, if you will, and living a garden-inspired life, because I do believe that lovely and gracious living can be contagious, again, and accessible, regardless of what your life situation is right now. So that is the next thing on my list of 5 things that I'm talking about today related to garden-inspired living. I think our number 4 component of our mission statement and living a garden-inspired life is to constantly, as you go out the course of your day, being attentive and deconstructing and demystifying why something is beautiful to you or inspiring to you, or it just makes you smile. And I try to do that on this channel, Stuart, and I try to deconstruct why we think something works or doesn't work, and why we think it's beautiful or it isn't beautiful, because I think some of you like it and some of you, quite frankly, don't like the fact that I try to give you kind of a scary look into how my brain works when I starts laughing at that. He still hasn't figured out how my brain works. It is a frightening place in there, Stuart, I promise. But behind the scenes of how I work it through my mind, and the why, the who, the what, the where, the how-to of creating something beautiful, and why I think something works or it doesn't work. And that comes to deconstructing and really looking at something very, very closely as to why it appeals. And that is what I try to do here, is give you a little bit of a glimpse into my designing mind, as amateurish and as frightening as it is working through that process, so that you guys will have kind of a roadmap as you work through the process in your own landscapes and in your own gardens and in your own lives. So I think it's one of the reasons that I love, like the thing, some of you ask me, well, what am I drawn to on social media or on YouTube or whatever? And I think it's the way I like things that show obviously before and afters, but I love things that say, you know, my way, her way, or this way, that way, different ways to interpret and look at things. And so I think that's our next thing is just, we try to help you observe, deconstruct, and help you find a roadmap to looking at life in a different way and looking at things in a different way and finding the inherent beauty in something that may be in the decline, or finding beauty in the horrific nature of a terrible ice storm or in life's challenges. And to do that, you have to observe, deconstruct, and just kind of look at it and then interpret it in a way that helps you put on glasses and see things in a different way. And I can remember once reading a prayer or something that said, God, help me wake up tomorrow morning and look at my life with a different set of glasses. And I think sometimes that's what we have to do, is we have to just put on a different pair of lenses and look at things in a different way. I've said it before, I'm a huge fan of Joseph Campbell, and that's that you can't say, if you say yes to life, you can't say yes to parts of it and yes, and no to other parts. You kind of have to say yes to all of it and try to find the beauty in it, even on those days when you can hardly lift your head up. So I think that is our number 4 thing of living a garden-inspired life, is to deconstruct, observe, and look at it through a different lens of how things can be reinterpreted or reframed. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I know sometimes it seems like it's all about me and it's all about my garden and it's all about my house. And that's not my intent. My intent is really that it be all about you, and I am just showing you one interpretation of it so you guys can figure out what your own style is, whether that's your garden style, your decor style, your personal style, how you live your life, how you entertain, how you interact with others, what books you read. So all of this is in an attempt for you to examine your own personal style and interpret it yourself, because it's what you can maybe steal from me and interpret it in the context of your own life. I talk a lot in my book about good garden fit and things within a certain context. And so every time you watch one of my videos, I hope that you look at it and interpret it and dissect it in terms of what it means to you. Oh, I could do that in my house, or oh, I could use what she's using in my house in this way. I can dig something up out of my basement and I hadn't thought about it in years, but now I can use it in this new inspired way. And here's just a sweet example of how you guys give back to me so much more. So I got this dear little candle in the mail yesterday. And it came to me from, let me make sure I get your name right, Dixie. A good friend of mine's name was Dixie. Dixie Cook, who lives in Utah, one of the most beautiful states in our country, I think. And anyhow, she talked about how she made this little candle and how it's hand painted, how she was inspired to pull it out of a cabinet because she had seen the painting in my dining room and how closely it resembled the teapot in my dining room. And then she said she brought it out, she looked at it, she remembered how she had made it, it brought up loving memories for her, and it inspired her in a way. So inspired and motivated was she that she sent it to me as a gift and wrote me this sweet, sweet note, as do so many of you. You share so much of your lives with me, and I am just, as I said, I'm just humbled and overwhelmed and so gratified because you guys have enhanced my life in a way that is just pretty breathtaking. And I just want you to know I really appreciate it. And I'm not just spouting that. I really do. Stuart, we talk about it all the time, that who knows that, and you guys are also different. You guys are just, the depth and breadth of the type of people that watch this is amazing to me. Young, old, just all different religions, all different nationalities, all different, it is just amazing to me. And all of it really is just, like I say, it just helps me look at life in new and different ways, which to me is another key to healthful aging, is just looking at life in a different way that constantly is invigorating, inspires you to learn more, and to give you an ikigai, give you something to wake up the next morning and discover. And that's what you guys have done for me. So as I kind of go through this self-reflection, and as Stuart and I try to really define and hone out what this Linda Vater brand is and what it means to us and to you, and sometimes you have to go through analyzing introspection with me. But I guess my point is, it's not about me and it's not about you, it's about us. And so I am just hoping that garden-inspired living is about us. And in the comments below, I hope you will share what that means to you. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this gift of this platform that we can all learn from and discover together. So there you go. There's my 5 Things Friday and what it means to me to live a garden-inspired life. Well, here is my outfit of the day, kind of bundled up because it's really cold outside. Starting with my wonderful earrings. These are those Atrios tile earrings that I love, love, love so much, and I'm wearing them today. My scarf I have had for a long time. I can't remember where I got it. But I like it because it's not itchy, and so many of you told me that one of your very favorite accessories was scarves, and this time of year especially so. And I was inspired to wear it because I was really cold, so I put a t-shirt, which is a Madewell t-shirt, underneath my sweater today, and it was the perfect color echo. It's this wonderful kind of blush color, so that inspired me to go and hunt down my scarf. My sweater is just a really lightweight sweater. I think I got it at Target many, many years ago. My bracelets are just an assortment of different ones, some of which belonged to my mother-in-law because I gifted them to her. They're really lightweight little bangles, and I gave them to her because her skin got so fragile at the end she couldn't really wear any kind of heavy jewelry because it would abrade the surface of her skin. So I got her these lightweight ones, and now whenever I wear them I think about her. My ring came from an art museum in London, I believe, many, many years ago, and I love it because it reminded me of one of those distance pictures, images of the earth. Do you know what I'm talking about, Stuart? And I love it, so I got this at a museum of art, which, by the way, there's a tip. Gift shops within museums are just really wonderful. My sweater, as I said, came from Target. My skinny belt came from Nordstrom Rack. My breeches, my confetti urban breeches, are from H&M. And these are my new favorite kind of booties. I got these. I love this kind of chunky heel. Lately, you can tell I've kind of been into 60s and 70s attire. These have that Doc Marten look, but these are so comfortable. And I got these off of Amazon. If I can find the link, I will send it to you. So there you go. There is my outfit of the day.